The W&OD Trail, stretching 45 miles from Shirlington in Arlington County to Purcellville in Loudoun County, is the most popular park in the regional system. It's in constant use by joggers, bikers, and walkers. But 150 years ago, it was the roadbed for the Washington and Old Dominion Railroad, then known as the Alexandria, Loudoun, and Hampshire. Railroads were important in the Civil War. In fact, an early skirmish along this railroad in Vienna marked the first use of trains for moving troops.
The affair at Vienna, which really isn't even dignified with the title skirmish or battle, actually began on the 16th of June, 1861, when Colonel Maxcy Gregg of the 1st South Carolina Infantry left his camp near Fairfax and began a scout that took him as far west as Drainville, Frying Pan Church, and Seneca Creek. He came back to the east along the rail line and ended up in Vienna looking for Union troops that were said to be here. Not finding them, he was preparing to return to his camp in Fairfax when he heard a railroad whistle. Gregg deployed his men, 2 6-pounder artillery pieces, and approximately 650 men, deployed them on high ground overlooking the railroad at the Park Street crossing, which is just a little to the east of us here. At the same time that Gregg was here in Vienna, approximately 6 o'clock in the evening, General Robert Schenck, commanding the 1st Ohio Infantry, had moved eastward along the railroad track with instructions to scout to Vienna and then send troops north to Fairfax looking for Confederate troops. When the train came around the bend into view, he had 2 artillery pieces, 6-pounder howitzers, that began firing on the train. The troops on the platform cars suffered the greatest casualties. The train immediately stopped and the Union troops dismounted. Schenck deployed his troops on the south side of the track in heavy woods. Believing that he was heavily outnumbered, he would report that there were 1,500 to 2,000 Confederate troops, where Gregg actually only had fewer than 700. Before he backed the train out of the line of fire, the engineer disconnected all but one of the cars and immediately returned to Alexandria, leaving the troops to fend for themselves. Gregg expected an attack by the Union troops and held his position, deployed to receive it. Schenck, on the other hand, immediately retreated toward Alexandria. The action itself was very brief, occupying only a few minutes and of no real military significance, aside from the fact that this marked the first time that the railroad had been of tactical importance in any military action. The Confederates would later put another railroad to very good use, moving Joseph Johnston's army from the Shenandoah Valley to Manassas just in time for the First Battle of Manassas, a little more than a month after this action took place in Vienna.